Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is, I guess I'm gonna say, behind the circus,
I guess the origins of the wrestling.
It's more or less the behind the scenes of what goes on behind Bombs for Breakfast.
Yeah, because I think for the most part everyone has a grasp of like how we started, why we're doing it, but I don't think our mindset going into it or our mindset before it, I don't think a lot of that's been touched on. So
no, and this has been long going.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had this idea in the back of my head ever since Bombs for Breakfast has started.
But I'll cut you off, and I probably don't know if I should be able to be saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Since I do have, I guess, rights to go into the DC Thriller channel, I saw a video you posted there, which was kind of similar to this one. It's, I believe it's unlisted. It's basically you're just talking about
issues that's been going on. I've done maybe one or two.
Okay. It was very insightful though to see an out of character perspective of.
And that's what this one's going to be about. So
I'll tell you how out of character it is. We got Jim
Bits, yes.
For any Canadian fans out there. But
and Tim Hortons coffee and
cheers, guys.
Yeah, that's kind of a symbol of saying, look, this is going to be another long video because of him and I being together. So this is going to be pretty much the history of the rivalry between Victor and Thriller, how it all started and began.
Yeah.
So starting it off kind of professional, why don't you introduce yourself, real name, and the characters you play?
Well, firstly, I guess my real name would be Pravi, is what you grew up knowing
with,
me,
yep.
Which is my licensed. It's my middle name. Legal. It's my middle name. It's my Indian name, and Victor is just something that was kind of not something I used. But then when I got older, it just made more sense because it was easier to pronounce. B is just Victor Chan, look good on paper, so I went with that. Characters I play is, of course, my main character, which is Vic Boss. I also portray El Toro.
Yep.
Who else is in the wrestling world that I portray? Is that it? I do want to bring in Cool Guy.
Yes.
I do want to bring in Cool Guy and have him chill with Deadhead.
Yes. I've ever since you brought forth Cool Guy on your Von channel.
Right.
That I said, this guy, he has to be Deadhead's manager. He has to be Deadhead's manager.
And it's funny because I think you already had it in your head that, it's him. He's the manager because there's a point where he's in the interview show and a phone call, he avoided it. And then you messaged me and you were like, was that the Deadhead? And I was like, I didn't even think about this. It can be. So, but yeah, no, I definitely want to bring him into the wrestling and, just have fun with it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to working with him and working around him and everything else, seeing what we could do with that character in this circus of a world we've created.
For sure, and the one thing I like about Cool Guy is because Vic Boss is so vulgar and, very...
In your face.
Cool Guy is... every time I've portrayed him so far, I've made sure he works his way around swearing. He doesn't. He's just cool.
Yeah.
So
he's laid back.
He's
calm.
It's a very good contrast of the two characters. So I don't know. It's just fun to play Cool Guy.
And your El Toro character, he's kind of comical.
Yeah. El Toro, I just picture. Okay. Think of a guy that thinks he is the shit, but isn't, but he still thinks he is, and then turn that up all the way. And that's kind of El Toro in a nutshell.
Well, with you and Dan with the masked wrestlers,
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted Gremlin, which is another character of mine, that
Yes.
to work with, and ever since we did, I think, one of the battle royals, I made sure like Gremlin showed how much of a big fan he is of the masked wrestlers.
He was like, I think he was in on the handshake, and I don't know if they were feeling it. I don't remember it, but I remember that being pretty funny.
Yeah. And as everybody also knows, that I portray Thriller, Gremlin, Deadhead, which at the start was Deadpool, but we didn't want to make any copyright infringement, so I had to change the name to Deadhead 91.
All those guys are you?
Wait, there's one more.
What?
And Mr. Butt.
My personal favorite. Yeah.
Mr. Butt is actually a character that gets me out of my comfort zone with being proper, and as well as actually using my real last name, which is Butt. That is real. It's on my driver's license and everything else.
Yeah.
With that being said, yes, I went to school with you back in grade 5.
We met in grade 5. We were both 10, I believe, because you were going into 11, I think.
Yeah, in that neighborhood.
We were around there, and and I don't. Honestly, I didn't really get into wrestling until I was. Well, why am I doing this? I didn't get
wrestling.
I didn't get into wrestling until I was in high school. So elementary school, I just kind of listened to what you guys would say. I would watch it on mute and turn on my own music and see if it goes to the music. But I never I knew who the stars was. I mean, there's no way you could.
Yeah,
there's just no way.
People wearing Austin shirts, Raw shirts.
Yeah, I mean, the DX was.
Everywhere.
Even if you didn't know wrestling, everyone was saying "suck it."
Yeah, and know what a crotch chop was.
Yeah. So in that respect, I don't remember us in elementary school having conversations of wrestling.
No, it was usually me with Martin Fleury or Jason Rayfuse.
Rayfuse was big on it.
And actually, it was because of Rayfuse that I perfected my Russian leg sweep, because he would fall for it every time.
Fucker was good for something. I'm kidding.
And after that, you were in on the conversations and the video gaming with me, with my next door neighbors at the time was Kurt and Shane.
Kurt and Shane, yeah. That was some good times, because I don't know, Kurt and Shane. It was always like that Smash Brothers kind of party feel when we all got together, and it's kind of, I kind of wish we had Smash Brothers to play when we were all chilling, but it was always a good time, and it was always good wrestling. And I remember being mad at the older games. I never comprehended that they went by the current roster of that time, and we were playing some older wrestling games like SmackDown, which was maybe 2 years before or something like that. Like it might have been
the first SmackDown game. I think might have been a year before.
Okay, because
Know Your Role was when I got it was like quite recent.
Quite recently, because I remember playing it, and there were some of the stars that I wanted to be in it, and they weren't in it, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But that's a lot of what we did in high school.
And growing up and everything, like I said on your Vaughn channel, because of the wrestling games, you were my first ever tag team partner, because I remember you and me going up against the Isaac twins and just going at it, and then there was like Corey Charlie that was getting in on the wrestling with us and everything else.
I think you and Corey Charlie came up with the catchphrase "Punk Diddly Ass."
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
I think it was him and I.
Yeah.
Because we spend a lot of weekends together, especially grade 7.
The two Coreys.
Yes. We were pretty much a package deal.
Oh yeah. And it was funny because I was friends with you first, and then I think he came along. and I think I introduced you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the two Charlies were born, or the two Corys. Wow, the two Charlies. But
yeah, we were really good friends.
Yeah,
I would say for elementary school, you and I were like best of friends.
We were best friends for sure, because you were the only person I'd call up and talk to, like if there was a new show or there's something on my mind, whatever it may be. You were the first person I'd always call.
Yeah, and likewise back and forth, because I remember my parents giving me crap about phoning you almost like every day. Didn't you just see them at school? And I was like, yeah, but we had to talk about issues and shows and stuff, seeing how we couldn't go to each other's houses at that time because one or the other was conflicting.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to fast forward into what we have touched a lot but no one actually knows
the
real history of why Thriller and Vic hated each other.
Yeah. So, of course, with wrestling and storylines, or whatever you want to call them, you want to bring some of reality into it. And we decided to bring in our real life heat. And a lot of it was, I think a lot of it helped us really kind of respect each other again, in the sense of like when I was in you, I wasn't hating you anymore, but
yeah. It helped us kind of get through that old issue. It's like, this is what we wanted to do to each other.
Yeah.
At that time, but due to whatever reason, we were like, no, we're the better person. We won't get into
that,
it.
And we just went through this whole period without talking to each other. And I remember this one time, and I want to say this is what started it, but my memory is not all there. You and X, who we'll talk about later, but I'll kind of touch on it right now. You and him got into a little scuffle in high school, and he was mad about something, and he talked to me on MSN or whatever it was, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with Corey or whatever. This is Corey, by the way. And yeah, I don't know, I just was lost in new friends and new environments, and I decided to kind of go with his side. Cut
ties with...
Yeah, and I remember, because we'd always meet by the flagpole.
Yeah.
For whatever reason...
Front of the school.
Front of the school, and whatever reason, X was by the entrance doors, at the front of the school.
Yeah.
So it's like the flagpole and then the front of the school. And he told me, meet me there in the morning and just forget about Corey. And I was, alright, I will. And then I told my dad, yeah, just keep going. And you were, and like right now, when I think about it, it almost, could bring me to tears because of how much of a dick move it was. But I told my dad to keep going. You were walking towards me because you were gonna be like, hey, what's up, and talk. And I just told my dad to keep going, and here I am chilling with X, and I'm pretty sure we patched things up after that, but I want to say that's kind of where it
started.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of, during high school, there was a lot of people even getting into my head, which oddly enough explains why I am so effed in the head when it comes down to my characters. But a lot of people would always pit me against somebody, and there was like no truth to it. It was over a stupid lie and everything else. And I remember another friend of ours, Brian, he was like telling me, well, you were friends with him in elementary school. You're in high school now.
Yeah.
Get over it. And it's like, oh, okay, fine.
Wow. Yeah, I think, with high school, and if anybody tells you otherwise, they're kind of lying, but there's a pecking order for sure. And whether it's a legit pecking order or not, you still follow it. You see new people, and, this guy's high on the chain. It's like, oh, I want to chill with that guy. So if he doesn't like the friends you're chilling with right now,
You have a choice: either dump your friends or lose this guy.
Yeah. But he's got cool video games, you know. And no, a lot of it.
Yeah, I was the guy with all the video games. I know. So. But no, during this period of time, like, you were at the high school for 1 or 2 years.
Yeah. Grade 10, I dropped out.
Yeah. And I think this was starting to happen about grade 9-ish.
Yeah.
And I remember vividly you and I running into each other at Save-On, and there was just, like, we gave each other such an evil glare, like, even my mom at the time could felt that. She was like, what was that over about? I'm like, in all honesty, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just know he hates my guts. So I reciprocated the looks. So.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny because I'm going to fast forward a bit, but we'll backtrack if we can. I saw you at HMV once, and this is like FFA 1-ish.
Okay.
So we had to have already done it. I saw you at HMV, I looked at you, and I was like, fuck it. And I turned around.
Yeah, actually, I remember you walked in, saw me, and you just rolled your eyes, and you backed right out of it. I couldn't stop laughing.
And, it was funny. No, because it was just like, at the time, I went there to just kind of be away from everyone. And then I see this fucking guy there, and I'm like, fuck!
The one guy that you still
hate. The one guy I still hate for no reason is here. And then, you know, and like we said, it was over little things, and by the time we hated each other, we didn't even know why we hated each other.
Yeah.
It was just something small. To this day, I don't, like I said the first story, but, you know, well, what I think is the first story, but I really don't know.
And yeah, that's the same goes with me. My memory's pretty freaking shoddy, but I remember a lot. I remember a lot of people getting into my head and trying to separate you and me and whatnot. And after a while, it was like, you know what? Fine, fuck everybody.
Yeah.
But after that, I think, yeah, you dropped out of high school. You went to Cedar Valley.
Yeah, Cedar Valley. I don't think we saw each other there.
No, because I went to grade 11 at MSS.
Okay.
And my grade 12th year, I went to Riverside.
That's where we saw each other, and we had like a brief kind of talk. It wasn't like you know how it is today. Hey, what's up, man?
No,
you know,
no, it definitely was not that.
No. It was more or less. I just remember there was no like. It wasn't like a heated conversation. It wasn't like, oh, what the fuck. I just remember it's like, hey, how's it going? This and that. He says something about trying to get a laptop or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it.
Yeah, it was just.
And I remember thinking, like outside, I'm trying to be like, I fucking hate this guy. But in the inside, I'm thinking, man, we used to have the most bomb-ass conversations, and that's the best we can come up with.
Yeah, and I think that conversation only lasted, 10 minutes. Because I remember...
It was a lot less than that, man.
Yeah,
it had to have been.
It had to have been, but I remember walking away, and I remember thinking the same thing. I'm like, this is the guy that I used to spend almost pretty much my whole entire evening talking to about nothing, really. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we just pretty much, oh, what's new with you? Oh, not much.
Mm-hmm. It's been fucking like 3 or whatever years. There's stuff, man.
But after that, you went on with your birdie stuff, I believe.
And I was kind of MIA from Mission because I would spend majority of my time in Vancouver because I work there at Purdy's. My hours were basically from 2 till 2, so I'd leave the house at 2 and I wouldn't get home until like 2:30. So nobody ever saw me, and I kind of liked it like that. But before Purdy's was Save On Foods.
Okay. That I didn't know about.
I did Save On Foods, and that's where FFA 1 happened, and 2, while I was there. And that was the me being very outlandish towards things, because I got out of a relationship at the time.
Okay.
And I was just... You know how they call Shawn Michaels the angry young man when he was...
Yeah.
That was
pretty much
was pretty much me, and I was just raging against anything. But the thing is, I was getting a lot of attention from girls at the time, and that never happened in, like, you know, school or anything. My hair, I had longer hair. I guess I had an okay enough face. Like, I can't look back and say, "Oh, that's a good-looking guy." Like, you know, hey, if the girls were, you know, they were digging it, so that's what my life became. It was just training girls and you know, not life with him.
I think you told me about that after when we started patching things up, because I remember telling you, same thing exactly happened to me, because I remember going through school, no one would bat me an eyelash. And then as soon as I left MSS, everybody was like, well, what happened to you? Did you, like, drop out? It's like, no, fuck. I pretty much told that school to fuck it. I'm going to Riverside to do my trade. And all of a sudden, all these girls are like, well, fucking you were hot. I'm like, why didn't you tell me when I was there?
And it's like, you can even go on some of his Facebook pictures and, like, see girls typing in drool or stuff like that. It's like, where was this
in high school? But there just wasn't.
Yeah, mind you, I think...
Look at the crowd that in high school that we were hanging out with, though, too. So we weren't we didn't really care what people heard.
Yeah.
We were fine with what we liked. We didn't follow suit with everybody else. We were our own people.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't, you know, there might have been some of it to get stuff, but there was never, like, that I'm going to change my complete identity.
I'm going to wear these kind of clothes from now on.
Yeah, you know, my own style was whatever I thought was, you know, cool, whether it was or not.
Yeah.
I came to school wearing white pants once, you know? Fuck me, right? And now I don't wear anything but sweats.
Yeah, and for me, high school was when I started wearing trench coats and everything.
Yeah.
And I've never dropped that. And people are even now telling me, well, you're like 30. Why are you still wearing stuff from high school? I don't care. Exactly. I didn't care then. I don't care now.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Going off with X and everything, after that little, whatever it was, miscommunication between him and I. Yeah. After you left, him and I actually became closer in friendships.
Which is hilarious. See, Corey, Charlie, and X! Look what I have done.
Yeah. Him and I, we had so many lot of similarities and got along really well. After we like, you know what, this was what's going on and everything, and well, this was what's going on. We all understand each other. And I think when I was at Riverside, grade 12 year, my grade 12 year, he was still here, but afterwards he moved to Toronto.
Yep.
And I was still in contact with him. At that time, him and I were doing online e-feds, which was role-playing wrestling. Yep. We were still much into it. We had this big, huge plan of, okay, after he was going to get a job and make a lot of money out there, I was going to get a job, start making money, and then him and I were going to meet at Lance Storm's Academy and go through the training and everything else. Yeah. That fell through. I think he was out there for a couple of years. For me, at that time, I finally ended up I did some work with my dad at a mill. That didn't pan out too well. After school, I ended up getting a job doing roofing.
I remember you mentioning that.
And at that time, I got out of a relationship that, again, people were getting into my head, which was at that time with the girl that I am with now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
things you learned.
Yeah. My girlfriend now is Brittany Javen, which plays Lucretia for Bombs for Breakfast.
Yep.
She's a tremendous help with me in trying to organizing because I have no organized skills.
Yeah.
It's crap.
To do all that by yourself is not easy at all.
No, from cutting promos, registering for getting the building rent and everything else, it's a lot of work. I appreciate all the help that I get, even from you with running the channel, uploading the videos and whatnot.
Yeah, no.
But at that time, going back to my story, I was roofing. I made enough money to go see him out in Toronto. Spent about a week or two there.
Right.
Came back, did my roofing up until October, November. Checks started bounce, I bounced. But at that time, he made plans with me saying, you know what, if you don't have a job by then, or by this date, I'll fly you out for 2 weeks, and we can go see Raw in Toronto. I was like, all excited for it.
And just, what a offer,
yeah.
First of all.
It was on his dime. I got in a lot of flack with some of my family members. They're like, well, why didn't you come see me? I'm like, dude, it was on my best friend's dime. Pretty much, he can tell me where I can go. Yeah. That's how I saw it, anyway.
Yeah.
Trip was amazing. I met his girlfriend, which ended up later becoming my girlfriend, which became my ex. I came back, and I think it was like 2 weeks later, I got a heart attack. Now, before I get into that, before all that, I think after I got out of roofing is when you and I started contacting each other.
Yeah.
Because X mentioned to me that you have a free-for-all going on.
Yeah.
And he was saying, like, it might be every year. It's in the summer, I think. I was like, okay, fine. I'll swallow the bullet and actually contact you, seeing how you're I'm closer to you than he is to you.
Yeah.
I can meet you in person if need be, and from there, I think you and I kind of, like, you know what, there's some heat, let's get...
I don't even think we ever mentioned the heat until way later, because, I think it was you that messaged me on my birthday. And then I said thanks or something like that, and I accepted a friend request or something. I don't remember how it went down. But I remember the one thing you said, you messaged me and said, you accept my friend request, eh? And that was kind of, because that was around the same time Samantha found me on Facebook. And she and I were talking, and then, I think Free For All 2 had ended, and we're going into Free For All 3. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it was X or you, but you were. No, it was you that said me and X are doing all this. We're,
yeah,
got a kind of
mapped out a plan.
We mapped out this tag team, whatever, and of course if you're ever doing anything by yourself, you're always looking for anybody to wrestle. Now we're not so much like that. We kind of want to train our guys, but back then it's like, hey, you got an interest? Okay, you're in.
And at this point, you're like, hey, 2 people is a lot better than one person.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
You can do a lot more.
And that was a good one.
Yeah, I heard that one.
Let me digest this one before I continue talking. What shuts me up? A Timbit.
Not with me.
But yeah, no, me and X never lost touch. We were never like enemies or anything like that. We never hated each other. We always talked to each other. And yeah, so I was like, okay, if X is here, and if he's friends with, like, this is what's the thought process going on in my mind. I was like, okay, X is going to be at Free For All. If he brings Corey, I know X, and me and Corey for some reason don't get along. I know X has enough respect for me that he'll step in and calm,
the situation down.
Yeah. Well, mostly I thought, I'm thinking of just you getting angry, and I was like, okay, he's going to calm him down. That was...
Okay, now, I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Me getting angry. Okay, and the history up until that point between you and me.
Oh, you've never gotten angry.
Yeah.
Never. And I had no right to think that. But I did. Because I always, at the time, and I didn't really snap out of it until I was 23, I always thought of the worst case scenario. Always. Always. And I always thought everybody was against me, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I always pictured you angry. And you've never... Like, I've slipped up and gotten angry during our matches. Like,
yeah.
like we like, there's one time I remember we missed a spot or something, and I was like, that's the fucking finish!
Yeah, I remember that, and I was thinking, well, you guys had other spots planned out. Why do you do the finish now and you can't do anything else?
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that one. But yeah, no, it was just like even with Paul, who, at the time, and well, now I just consider him a brother. I find it awkward to say best friend.
Yeah.
With like you, DJ, and Paul, I just find it really weird to consider you guys friends now. It's just we've been through too much. It's like
me and DJ, we've
kind of
had a little misunderstanding,
yeah.
But
and that's another thing that kind of fed into the whole fuck this guy.
I can understand you're still worried about worst case scenario with me. I'm already starting shit with another one of your friends at that time because I ended up parroting an ICP song and just threw DJ's mom into it.
Oh,
and that's what started it all. And after I instantly, the type of guy I am, if it was a misunderstanding, because I do miscommunicate a lot,
right.
I apologized. But at that time, for what DJ's mindset was, he wanted to wring my neck, and it was like, "Hey, dude."
Yeah, and DJ is a very, very, very explosive person, and because I remember the whole shooting that went down at the school, not our school, obviously. It was on the news. There was just this really big shooting that went down. A lot of kids ended up getting killed.
Are you talking about the one in Colorado?
Wasn't that the theater? It might have been. Anyway, it was one of those, and
Columbine.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah,
that's Colorado.
I don't know. But
shootings happen in Colorado every time.
Yeah, I know. Chris made this really stupid joke. He's like, "Oh man, they're gonna have to get a really small body bag or something like that." And a DJ being a father was like, "Why the fuck would you even joke about that?" And cut him out. Recently they, that and that's to DJ's credit. He added him back as a friend, a couple of years later maybe, but to DJ's credit, that's just who he is, right? He'll be very mad, but he can be very forgiving as well. So,
and up until recently, there was another, I think it was one of the Bombs for Breakfast events, or if it was yours and Paul's match. That was a really good one. Right. After the event, friggin' DJ was egging me on, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna go that route.
Yeah.
I said I was sorry.
I think it might have been the triple threat that me, Vaughn, and Daniel did. You were just sitting in the corner with the chair. You were the champion at the time.
Oh, okay.
And he was DJ was referee. And I just remember that's when Dan hurt his ribs, and I won the match with 4 amigos. I was like, really? And I picked him like that.
Yeah.
And but DJ raised my hands. He looked right at you. He's like, "You're new champion." And I wasn't champion. I was like, "What do you do?" He's like, "Just go with it." And I was like, "Man." But right now, I can honestly say, and if DJ's watching, I never had any ill will towards him. He's a father. Congrats. I'm a father. I can respect whatever decision he made against Chris for saying such stupid shit. Like, but in any sense of respect, if him and I ended up seeing each other, obviously I wouldn't cast the first stone, and I wouldn't expect him to either. Right. It's water under the bridge. Oh yeah, for sure.
It's gone, just like how you and I kind of started slowly talking again, which we're kind of getting off track, but sorry. We'll get back
to all that.
Yeah.
So it was free for all. We met for the third one because that was your guys' debut.
Debut,
right?
Yeah. As a tag team.
And at the time, had you guys done anything like this, or
no? We never really worked with each other in terms of the wrestling or grappling.
So a lot of it was in theory.
Yes, we did a lot of theory. He actually had a book, which he ended up picking me up a copy, which taught us how to roll, how to fall, and everything else. Had like JR and all these awesome legends doing quotes and everything into it. So we studied the book, I think, about like 5 hours a day.
Right.
And prior to the free-for-all, like I get back from Toronto, he's moving out to BC, and he's like, okay, once I move out, we gotta start training, we gotta start doing this, we gotta start doing that, we gotta start eating right. I'm like, dude, I'm still unemployed at this point.
Yeah.
Me eating right is whatever my mom ends up cooking and puts in front of me. But for training and everything, I'm all for it. Well, I'll do whatever you want, and we'll work off ideas and whatnot. And he's like, oh, okay, fine. I get on the plane. That weekend, I freaking contract a heart attack because I was bored. I had 6 nosses in front of me. I downed them all in 2 hours. I got really sick. And then for 2 nights in a row, I was having chest pains. I couldn't sleep. And I couldn't even sleep in my bed. I was like sleeping on the couch because that was like the only comfortable area that I could make sure that my back was still up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden my mom kind of looks at me and she's like, why are you white? I'm like, I'm having some serious pain. The fuck did you guys... And this was one of the times I swore to my parents. I'm like, you guys came back from Grand Forks sick. What the fuck did you guys do to me?
Yeah.
I don't know. We're taking you to the hospital. I get to the hospital, I don't have any more chest pains, but I'm like acting... I'm still sore from the chest and everything else, and all the nurses are like, okay, what drugs did you do? None? Sir, that's impossible. If you're experiencing chest pains and for how young you are, you had to do something.
Yeah.
Now, will be no criminal charges against you if you tell us. But if we find out, I'm like, if you find out, that is news to me.
Yeah.
So, by all means, pick a vein. If you can't find one, just wait. I'll stare at my arm and produce one for you. And I spent 3 hours in Mission Hospital just getting drug tested.
Mission's finest.
And then they turned around and was like, okay, we're actually ambulancing you to Abbotsford. I'm like, oh, really? Why? did you find out that there's no drugs in my system?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm like, okay, next time listen to me.
Oh, sir, now is it?
I get to Abbotsford, and let alone, again, the nurse is like, okay, what drugs is in your system? I'm like, okay, one, if you don't have the records from Mission, I have none. If you don't believe me, do another blood sample, give me an OJ, and let me pass out, because now I'm tired from all these needles in my arm.
Yeah. It's like drugs. You guys are both putting more drugs than me.
And it was getting to Friday. Or it was getting pretty close to the weekend, and it was getting close to X coming down, and he was moving in with me in my parents' place, and I was thinking, fuck, he must be flipping out, because I told him I was going to contact him like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the hospital. I'm not allowed on the internet. I have no contact to anybody. Lo and behold, after that night, I think he ended up phoning my mom, and that's when he found out I was in the hospital for a heart attack.
Wow, what a way to find out.
And it was interesting because at that time the doctor said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna be in here all weekend and everything else." I was like, "Oh great, fuck, my best friend gets to see me in the hospital." I wasn't even thinking about free for all at that time. I was like, my best friend gets to see me in the hospital. Like, seriously, this is going to be a fucked up week. No, I got my test. I was out Friday. I think he was coming down Friday night. I was like, awesome, I will go have a nap, because after having a heart attack...
God knows you needed it.
I didn't even know at the hospital that's all I was doing. But...
Hey man, it's no place to sleep like your own bed.
I got up, went to the airport, hid behind one of the cars that you could win through a draw that was going on, so that they couldn't see me when they got off the plane, because they pretty much knew that I wasn't going to be there.
Right.
As soon as they met up with my mom, I popped out and I was like, "Hey!" It's like, "Oh, you got out of the hospital, eh?" I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of sneaked out." Shush. And he ended up telling me the story that him and his girlfriend at the time was totally livid that I was dodging them. Like, I wasn't answering anything, I wasn't supplying anything. There was like no traces of me online, which was unusual at that time.
Yeah. And
then finding out that, oh yeah, found out from your mom that you had a heart attack and you were in the hospital. I'm like, yeah, don't you feel like shit now, don't
you little fucker.
After all that, after they got settled in, he kind of looked at me and was like, "Hey, what are you going to do for free-for-all?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't know. I barely can keep my eyes open 3 hours out of the day."
And then...
that's when I ended up messaging you that, "Hey, look, I want to participate in free-for-all, but I don't know if I will be an actual fighter. Is there something for me to do? I can be a camera guy, I can be anything. I can be a guy that holds a sign, for fuck's sake."
Obviously, we weren't going to give you something so behind the scenes, so it was like, "Hey, okay, you got a referee. Or if you want a referee, then let's referee." And I had already prior talked to Phil. Who I really want to bring back.
Yes.
But we'll get to that. Maybe. I'll save it for another video.
Phil's a guy that we used to go to high school with, and he was in one of my English classes at the time too. He was a really good dude. In a way, he reminded me of a younger version of my brother. Oh, absolutely. Hair, attitude, and everything. He was
that's one of the reasons I was able to connect with him so well. But
he's a really cool photographer. We use him for the battle royals when we can.
So if he's got a Facebook thing, I'll throw it down in the description.
I think he does. If you can't find it, just look through. Just type in.
I'll just type in Phil's snapshots. Yeah. Anyway, I'd already talked to him to be the referee, but just because he had his heart attack and couldn't be actively as wrestler, I said, well, let's just have Corey as the referee, and maybe Phil can be the camera guy. And lo and behold, we get to free for all, and Phil was late.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, but he actually came up to me and said, "Look, I want to do this. You know, like, I feel okay." So.
Well, at first I was like, I feel good enough that I can last however long this thing is. If it gets too much for me, I will instantly say, "Hey, look, take me out."
Take me out, yeah.
And then I was like, "Okay, how are we doing this in one constant shot, or if it's cut and take?"
That was the interesting thing, because if you look back at the first two free for alls, they were filmed more like a fight scene. You get to FFA 2, you see more wrestling, but you get to FFA 3, it was pure wrestling, but, you know, one segment was filmed, I mean, cut, chopped it together, and then another, and that's because of you guys. I'll give you guys full credit on that, because it's the vision I had, and it's where I wanted to go, but had we not had more people that knew wrestling, it would have never happened.
No, probably not.
Because it would have,
I think it would have been too much to contain within.
Yeah.
That area, even though we were using the whole entire park, but to capture it just within that frame, it would have been too much. And at that time, I was like, okay, if it's cut and take, I could probably do this all day.
Yeah. Yeah, and which you did. I mean, you had a pretty cool segment where you threw, you called Phil because he showed up late.
Yeah, but Chris grabs me by the scruff of the shirt, and I'm like, 1 sec.
Yeah.
And you used your phone for it.
My phone, and it reminded me very much of Final Fantasy Crisis Core. Just you've always reminded me of Zach Fair with your look, and just the cell phone and the click, and then I was like, "This is a Crisis Core, yay!"
Well, I remember Chris is like, "Well, how do you want to tie it in?" I'm like, "Dude, just freaking grab me by the shirt. Make it look like you're going to punch me. I'll stop you." And he's like, "Oh, how are you going to stop me?" I'm like, "With my finger."
Yeah.
So it was just really interesting, and it helped us start on that project, because Phil was I think 2 hours late.
Yeah.
So.
Because we think of this, we would get up 6 in the morning and meet at 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'd even meet at 6. I don't remember.
No, it was 7 o'clock.
Was 7?
Because I remember X and I at that time.
You guys were already...
we lived right across the street from the park, from that area. So it was nothing for us to walk. Mm-hmm. But we were up at 5 in the morning because we just couldn't rest. We were like, fuck. Yeah. So amped up for this and everything.
Yeah. And it was kind of that first real experience with that kind of wrestling anyway.
Yeah, it was actually first time I would take what I learned with you in video games, apply it to my new best friend at that time. Yeah. In real life. And granted, him and I, we tried to do as much as we could, but it was a learning experience for us both, because we never filmed each other.
Yeah, no doubt. And I remember after we were done with Free for All 3, the filming and stuff like that, I remember me and Dan talking, and I said, okay, you worked with both Thriller, you worked with X, who is better? He said Thriller, because the reason X had good things in theory, but his execution was very, very soft. He wasn't, you work stiff, which is, every wrestler's dream, because we're creating the illusion that we're trying to kill each other while we're trying to protect each other.
And at the same time making the camera make it believable at the same time. Exactly.
And when it comes to the point where kicks aren't connecting, or you're kind of punching like that, it's and you have a smile on your face. Yeah. And I'm not trying to trash X. I mean, it was his first attempt at it ever. Yeah. and he took an F5 like a champ.
Yeah, you did.
And I believe Chris called it when he fireman carried him. Yeah. I think we pressed record, and it was just like, F5, okay, huh? And that was when Chris started losing his strength and mass, but he was still a beast of a guy.
He was still a heavy dude.
He was still a heavy-set guy. And I really felt that was his free-for-all. Like, that was really
his
one he should have... Like, if we were to crown... If I do it all over again, I would have crowned him champion
over Dan.
Over Dan, instead of crowning him in 4, because 4 was
Paul.
For sure. I mean, from the start to the finish, he came to play, and I was just like, that was his...
Yeah, because Free For All 3, his segment that was like, I think recorded about, not, like 5 minutes long. Him going from me to Chris to you to Dan, and then he missed Chris like 3-4 times.
I was in the lasso.
Yeah.
For forever.
Yeah, and then he like looked at Chris. He's like, "Oh, I forgot about you."
And the thing is, it was a confidence thing. Paul did the entire thing in a jacket.
Yeah.
In the summer. It's just he wasn't comfortable with his physique. He wasn't comfortable, doing anything wrestling because he was a martial artist guy.
Oh yeah.
And
because I remember him, he's like, "Well, what do you want to do to me?" I'm like, "Dude, you're the martial artist. You're trained.
Yeah.
If you want to do a combination to me, tell me, show me.
Yeah.
And I can sell it." And he's like, "Okay." And then he like slowly does the motions. I'm like, no. I took his hand. I'm like, come this close, and I'll fly. You hit here, I'll make it look like you hit me. It's like, oh, you sure? You're fine with that? Dude, I've had a heart attack. I think I can take a kick from you. That was my whole mindset. I'm like, whatever you guys can do, fuck you guys. I had a heart attack. Yeah. Fuck you.
Yeah. Well, rightfully so, though. But after FFA 3 was done, that was like going in. Dan, I think you guys won him over a little bit because he was not feeling you guys.
No,
I told him.
No, I know.
He's like, they're a bunch of posers. They're just acting like they don't know this stuff. They're probably just fans that sit there. Of course, we're fans, but he wasn't feeling it, and I was like, let's just give him a shot. I was trying to sell you guys to them. Put it that way.
No, I totally admit. And at that time afterwards, I remember X always telling me, it's like, well, Vic promised me that him and I would have a one-on-one match, and we can start doing a video collage of all this stuff, and he listed off all these ideas. I'm like, dude, well, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
If not, let's prepare for the next free-for-all, because Vic told me that we're invited for the next one.
Yeah. And I guess we'll move on to the next one then.
Well, no, you can continue. I was just saying
about there is FFA 3, and my mindset was, well, I guess we can talk, since we're talking about the behind the scenes, I guess, like, Paul's confidence was down for Free For All 3, but it was visible.
Yeah.
Mine was completely visible on my body.
Yeah.
But I was acting like everything was cool. I was acting like everything was okay. There was nothing okay. At the time, I just lost my job. I was getting, how do I put it? Bad altercations with my ex. So it was really like...
dark times for you.
It was kind of dark. I want to say a lot of it was me feeling sorry for myself, right? But like, it's just when someone that you really cared about starts saying stuff about you that are untrue, and some things that are true, it really, I took it to heart, and I just didn't do anything. I just
Yeah,
and gained, and you know, and I gained all that weight in about 2 months. It's just, and I'm not a tall guy. I'm like 5'10", 5'11", maybe, and I was like 210 pounds. So my mindset was
going to touching on free for all free. I liked. I think out of it all, my two high parts were working with Paul, because I always wanted to work with a martial artist that actually looked like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And Paul not only looks, but does know what he's doing. And I really liked it, and after leaving Free For All, I was like, I want to work with this guy more. And I remember going into Free For All 3 hoping that the guy that was in the first two, Steve. Yeah. I was really hoping Steve was going to be in this one, because I could see myself working off of him a lot throughout the projects and everything.
I think he really would have liked working with you. The bad thing about Steve is he had a very high risk style, like we all do, but his was unprotected.
Yeah.
In the sense of, instead of breaking his fall, let's just completely have my body absorb it, and hopefully I get up from it. You know, he wanted to make it look as sick as possible. That's why when he'd take a Samoan drop, his head he wouldn't tuck in.
His head would be loose and stuff like that.
Yeah.
'Cause I know X and I were like nitpicking at your guys' first two free for alls. We were taking notes and stuff like that. We're like looking at Steve and we're like, ooh,
yeah,
why? It's like,
and the thing is, he was really, really good at break volume, but he didn't do it at the cost of just
for his own safety.
He didn't do it for. He wanted it to look as gruesome as and that was just his mindset at the time. Even when he'd kick me, and instead of, you know, you kick somebody, you want them to be protected, right? If it hurts them, I'm sorry, you know, like. But that's just the truth of it. If it legit hurts someone, it's like, oh damn, you know, my bad.
Yeah.
Steve was more like, did that one hurt more? It's like, oh,
you ass.
Yeah, but he didn't mean it as an asshole way. He just wanted to know if it, like, you know, connected.
How was it?
How was it? It hurt more, right? Okay, I'll kick you harder this time. You know, but
something to aim for.
Yeah.
Free for All 3 was a big learning experience for me and X at that time, and that we were really at the end of the day. I remember sitting beside him when Paul was in a submission at that time, and I could hear X, and he's like, "Fuck, does Paul make me look like a pussy?" I'm like, "Say that again?" He's like, "As soon as I was in the submission, I tapped right away. I should have held out." I'm like, "Dude, you should have." Like, you're the only one to blame. Like, all my actions was all on me, and
none of us. This is no, you know, conspiracy or anything. None of us said tap right away, make him look strong. We didn't even say that to, you know, make us look strong to either of you guys. We just said, we're going to give you this segment, do whatever you guys want, and, you know, sell yourself.
And for me at that time, like I was starting to say, I was looking forward to working with Paul. I really wanted to work with Steve.
Yeah.
The other person was you. Because to me, I wanted to see how I matched up against my former best friend that I considered as my first tag team partner.
Yeah.
Here I'm with my actual tag team partner.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how I stand toe-to-toe with you. And in all honesty, when you went... see the tree? I'm like, yeah, whip me into it. Okay, I'm like, yeah, just run with me. You don't have to finish it. Okay.
Yeah.
You let go about halfway, but you still ran with me to make it kind of look with the camera. I smashed into the tree like full force.
Full force.
And I remember stumbling, and I was like, no, not falling, not falling. Pine cones! And I fell right on it. And then I remember Chris, he was like, okay, time for me to get up. And then he, like, steps on me. I'm like, there's a pine cone in my spine.
Oh, Chris. But yeah, the other spot I remember of that, like, I don't remember us doing, like, I'd have to go back and watch it. I'm probably missing something, but I don't remember us having that moment, where it was just kind of you and me squaring off kind of deal.
There was a little bit where you were, like, looking across when you and I went back and forth. We did our Light It Up. That was the first Light It Up.
Yeah. But I just remember the catapult
which came from our high school days, where freaking I was telling our biggest friends at the time to freaking launch me in the air, and that's
because Corey was always a smaller guy, so
yeah. And you looked at me and he's like, "How do you want to get eliminated?" I'm like, I looked right at you. I'm like, "Human catapult."
Yeah,
it's like yes.
It was awesome.
We have to do it. There was no way.
The good thing about me being that size at the time, I was kind of like a bear.
Yeah, it was easy for me to connect with.
Yeah, it was just there was nowhere else you could go. So I was like,
all I had to do was go like this, and you caught me.
And I caught you, and I did and I remember editing that, and I was like, fuck yeah, that looked awesome. And that was the two people that were able to launch you, you being able to get that air, me being able to catch you and doing the maneuver.
Yeah, I remember Paul being a little uneasy. He's like, I don't know if I'm strong enough to lift. I'm like, Paul, just start the general motion.
Yeah.
Most of my launching, I can do.
Truth be told, at that time, Paul would never admit to it. He was probably the second strongest guy there. I mean, there was Chris, and then it was probably Paul.
I could see it, because when he started his combo, I could feel him holding back quite a bit.
And to this day, he still holds back, and I'll tell you this much, he could seriously hurt someone if he really wanted to.
Oh, there's a lot of anger behind those eyes, man.
He's pissed.
Oh, no, seriously, if he ever got pissed,
yeah,
I fucking call in sick the next day, because I wouldn't.
I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't want to be there.
No.
But, so...
We're already going over an hour.
We're going over an hour. Let's keep going.
Alright.
Get some drinks. Chill out.
Yeah.
We're having...
Bit more thing to
this is what do they call this? A podcast!
Ah!
This is a wrestling podcast. So, we are your hosts.
Are you empty?
I'm fucking empty.
Oh, man.
It's okay, I got water.
You got water.
I got water. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. But yeah, Free For All 4.
Okay, moving on to Free For All 4.
What's your mindset? Do you remember your mindset? Because you didn't have X with you at this point.
Yeah, I felt like no longer I don't have a safety net.
And you were kind of coming into a group that still did not like you.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm at an all-time, like, fuck Corey. Does he have to be here? Fuck him. Like, I'm at an all-time that stage. And that's just, again, for nothing. It just, you start thinking about old things. It's like, man.
No, my mindset was, okay, look, I'm on my own now. If anything, I have to show that, yeah, I want to be here.
Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to do. Before leading it up to it, I was like, dude, can I bring a chair? Can I bring something? Because your free-for-alls, you have, like, the environment. I actually have a chair that I can use.
Yeah.
And we can use it. We can elevate all our moves to the next level if possible. You can jump off it. You can hit me with it. I don't care.
And I think you provided one of the best... I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional. You provided one of the best comedy bits in Free For All history, where Phil took away the chair. No. Phil was knocked out, but he had your chair too. And you go for a pin, and there's no ref, and you just go, "Fuck! What are you doing, dude?" Get up! And then he gets up and he takes his chair away. You're like, it's my chair, dude! And it's just, to go back on it, this is one of the funniest things. But then Dan may have upstaged you one, because the chair was open and he was going to go for a dive. Yeah. But the chair kind of gave in, so he landed on his feet and then went for the elbow.
Slid into the elbow.
It was
which hurt more than what I was anticipating, because I was like, I saw it, I was eyeballing it, I was like, shit, he's on the ground. Shit, he's sliding. Oh, got in the heart.
It was seriously one of the more unintentional comical moments in our free-for-all history. but
no, that whole event again was 6-7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
it was hot as fuck.
That was one of the hotter since it was. You weren't there for FFA 2, but the weather was very similar, because I was dying for FFA 2, and then we died again for
4, which thankfully you guys brought a lot of water for. Yes. On that day. We needed it.
The water, the cooler.
Because the third one, it was overcast, so it wasn't that.
Yeah, it was
muggy,
kind of muggy. We might have seen a little.
4 was like totally killing us.
It was bad. It was really bad.
But yeah, I was like, okay, well, I was trying to find out who's all going to be there, and he was like, well, pretty much the same guys as the last one. There might be 1 or 2. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I got ideas. When I get there, I'll find out everybody else's ideas, and I'll work off them.
Yeah.
Why not?
And that's just how we did things at the time. We didn't really have a master plan, and we still don't have a master plan.
You had an end, but you left the
middle.
lead.
The middle, like the beginning, was Dan or the Innovator and Vic Boss. I wasn't Vic Boss going by the name at the time. But the beginning was for us what we had in real life. The Innovator and Vic Boss, I'll just say Vic Boss, they had on screen. They were fierce rivals. They hate each other on camera.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to, kind of bring out. So the opening started with us kind of beating the crap out of each other, and I said, just pry us off each other and nobody gets it.
Yeah, and I was like, fine, I will.
You just walk off and you're like, And Phil, you got into it. I was like, I was getting scared. I was like, I'm about to pop you on Phil. But yeah, that's the beginning we had planned. The middle, we're like, let's create it, and then we had our ending with Chris and Paul.
Yeah, I remember pretty much Dan was saying, well, pretty much, this is you guys, go for it. And I was like kind of standing around. I was like, okay, you're giving me a shot, which my first time was like last year. I'm in the final 3.
Yeah.
And I was really like the segment where I was like laughing at you that you were the first eliminated, because last year I wasn't even first eliminated, so I won up you.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the storyline of the rivalry started. But I love Dan always points out, because he found it funny because you were laughing and I just go, what the fuck are you laughing at? And you're just like, you. It's as close to live action poetry as you're going to get, because it was just not planned. Our dialogue wasn't planned at all.
Nope.
It just, it worked. And that's what brings us to the first actual wrestling match.
Yeah.
Because I super kick you and storm off.
Yeah.
Story of our life, right?
Yeah. You're like, you know what? Fuck you. Bang.
Yeah, and then I just kind of stormed off. But I have to mention Dan's spaz out moment, because Phil, Dan got eliminated, and then Dan blamed Phil for it.
Yeah.
And he super kicks fucking Phil.
Yeah.
And Phil just he gets hit here, his head ends up here, he flops down. But Dan's exit was the best, because he just storms off, and then he goes, fuck! And I was like, oh my god, that was amazing. But that brings us to the first I'll say the first ever match because the match Dan and I did for Eddie was, it was a spot fest because all we did was a finisher after finisher. But it's like we applied everything we learned and made it one continuous thing. So that was kind of like the genesis of it all. But this was the first match with some experience under my belt, and
me now slowly getting it.
And
I was feeding off of your plan because at the end of the free-for-all 4, you're like, yeah, maybe the next one we'll just do in one continuous shot. That way we're not here until like 3-4 o'clock in the evening. And I think I messaged you like a month after. I'm like, well, if you wanted one continuous shot, why don't you just do another event?
Yeah.
And I think you told me at the time, well, I've already fought Dan and I fought Paul. I'm like, fight me. I could use the experience. I wouldn't mind working off of you.
And, and then I called up Twisters, and then I was just like, how much would it be to book the place?
Yeah.
They gave me whatever their number was, and I said, okay.
Yeah, I think it was like 150.
It was 100 something. It got crazy expensive once because I had to pay for everyone's insurance.
Yeah.
It was like in the 200s, but whatever. The insurance lasted us the year. So, anyway, we get to that, and we didn't talk about it, really.
No, we actually... I think throughout, he's like, you have any ideas? I'm like, maybe some. What about you? I have a few. It was like, we never really discussed it, and then we showed up, and we're like, well, what was your ideas? I don't know, what were your ideas?
But, and we're still like that, but I feel like it's a lost art in wrestling. A lot of people will, plan a lot.
Yeah, not a lot of people improv a match, and we kind of just do it.
Like, if there's a significant end, like there's something that really needs to happen, yeah, we'll do it. And
I think that's where, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I noticed it with...
wrong! No, I'm kidding.
I noticed it with Paul with a few of the events. He kind of likes mapping out.
Yeah, oh yeah.
From start to finish. He wants to tell that story.
Yeah. It works for him.
Oh, it does.
For some people, it works. For some people, it doesn't. Like for me, which is why I don't throw out a lot of ideas for my matches.
No.
Which is why I'll say, okay, whatever you guys' ideas are, just let me know, because at the time I don't have them, and B, I like working under that pressure of going in blank and trying to create. It's like you have clay. You really don't know what you're gonna make, but once it's done, you've got something.
Yeah.
And that's the style that's always seemed to work for me. But that's kind of what we did for our first match. And we went 50 minutes. 45 maybe without the entrances. I know the duration of the video is 50 minutes.
Okay.
And I was just so proud of the pace we set in that match.
Yeah, we didn't slow down much.
There was times where it got slow, but for the most part there was a flow to it.
Yeah.
And I remember as the match was going, minus the reboot part where
and the downloading issues that we were talking about before.
I remember as the match went on, you kind of reminded me of Majin Buu.
Yeah, whatever you can do, I can take.
They're like, yeah, but it was like you were learning as you were wrestling.
Yeah.
And I was like, at the beginning of the match, I was like, you're just a stunt guy. You're just a body I'm throwing around right now. That's why when the match starts, hello.
Hey,
we're recording a video.
Sorry, just let me know when you want to leave or...
yeah, sure. Sorry for the interruption, everybody. Where was I?
Majin
Buu.
Buu. Stunt guy.
Yeah, and then I just was like, this is another stunt guy. That's why you can actually even see me in the video. At the very beginning, we're doing catch wrestling. I rustled circles around you.
Yeah.
And I sighed. I was like, this is going to be...
boring.
This is going to be a shitty match. That's what was going through my head. But as it went on, I was like, okay, he's kind of... Is he learning as he's... and then...
I think at that point, that was like after you did the release German, because to me, that one caught me off guard.
Right.
And I totally landed broad against my neck, but I had enough of my shoulders to protect my head.
Right.
But after that point, if you watch the video, that's when you started to do more. And I know you didn't see me land on my neck, because
no.
I rolled right through it, and I was still on my feet when you slowly start to rise off the ground, and then that's when I fell.
Yeah.
So, I could understand that aspect where you're like, maybe he's learning. I'll try something else.
Yeah. No, because and then there were some things where we did that. And by no means, okay, if anybody still made it and watched to this point,
if we're still awake,
hi. By no means am I trying to say that I'm like some wrestling expert, and I was.
Neither am I.
And I'm so much like at the time. I'm not trying to say that I was like so much greater than you, or maybe I thought I was. I don't know, and I don't think I was, but I had more experience under my.
Yeah, in terms of what we're doing, you had. I was at this level. You were at here.
Yeah.
Because you had 2 more free-for-alls under your belt, and
right,
and time at Twisters, which
all the
I
training
didn't
at
have.
Twisters, and
I had myself. I had my theory.
You took your first bump on a Twisters turf, like 10 minutes before that match. I shoulder blocked you. You fell to the ground. I asked you how it felt. You're like, okay, let's do it.
Yep.
And I remember there's like why I said I'm not an expert is because what I'm about to talk about is I vertical suplexed you. It was a delay, and you landed on your feet, but there was no follow up to it. So I was just like, today there would have been a fucking good follow up to it.
Yeah.
But back then it was just like these little missteps of not capitalizing on an open spot and stuff like that. But as we got further and further and further and further, like I said, this match was like 45 minutes, and
at that time we didn't actually set who was going to win.
No,
we kind of agreed. Well, let's just see where the match takes us.
Yeah, and then I think I said something like, shit, I don't even remember what I said, but I think I just said, you take it, or something like that. And then, how did you beat me? Was it a frog splash?
I think it was a frog splash. I couldn't remember it, but I remember you telling me you finished. I'm like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, just, it's right. I'm like, okay. And then you're like, well, what are you going to do? Frog splash. This is the first, because I couldn't think of anything else at the time, and instantly I remember Paul's birthday party that I went to, which you have the picture of.
Yeah.
And freaking, I frog splashed you there like 3 times in a row, and I was like, you know what? We relived human catapult. I'm gonna relive
the
frog splash.
And he did it, and he got the win. And do you remember the whole super kick bit at the end?
No.
Okay.
I've gotten so many super kicks from you, I don't remember which one's which.
I no doubt. Okay, so the match is done. I raise his hand, and it's a nice moment. 2 childhood friends had their first.
Oh
match.
yeah, and you're like, I remember you whispered super kick. I'm like,
what? It wasn't super kick that I whispered. I raised your hand. I'm sorry. And I said, I'm gonna go heel.
Oh, yes. I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden, the kick. I saw it. I took it.
Yeah. And then, but I'm gonna go heel. Like, as if we established like, we're like a baby face or a heel. But, I just gotta mention, Chris completely, fucked up at the very beginning because he said he had cut a promo as champion.
Yeah.
And he was just like, alright, the winner of this match moves on to me, wins the belt. I was like, you just gave away you're losing, you dumb shit. I had to rewind that part over and over again. But yeah, no, you got the win, and then we moved on to the triple threat.
Yep.
The infamous hour-long triple threat.
My first mild concussion, too.
And we actually cut promos for that.
Yep.
Downstairs.
Yeah.
And we just went down there.
Down there today,
And so that's pretty cool. Oh.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, your head was talking.
But
yeah, we cut 3 promos in your downstairs place there.
And it was really cool because he had won the match to become #1 contender to go on
to face Chris.
To face Chris or Krim. But I don't know if it was my ego or I don't know if it was an idea. I wanted in on it. I just
yeah, because at the end of our match, you're like, you're fine facing Chris. I'm like, yeah, well, I should be.
Yeah,
it would be really cool for me to work with somebody else now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was like weeks prior for the promo cutting of the contract signing. He's like, you messaged me. He's like, what's your thoughts about me being in on this match?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how would you get into it? Well, contract signing and whatnot.
Poses you.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, so I'd have to bring extra masks. Yeah, just one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have no problem with you getting in on it.
You know, now that I really think about it, I think it was less ego and more. I didn't want to set anybody up to fail, because I was at the time the guy with the experience, and Chris, great, cool dude, not a wrestler. You're still fresh, second match in.
Yeah.
Third.
2 free falls, our match.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
this would be my 4th.
So this would, and then. So I guess I was added into the dynamic, and then we brought Dan in as the referee. Paul was on camera.
Yeah.
Which was probably the greatest combination and the most entertaining stuff for the match.
Yeah, that when there was like slow periods and nothing going on, those two
carried they
improv.
carried it, and yeah, I remember even before I put myself into the match, I knew you were winning. I was like,
yeah, at that time you never let me know until it was match day. You kind of like, are you fine with winning? I'm like, if it's okay with all you guys, yeah I'm fine with it.
And we were stupid about it though, because we never let you take the title home with you.
I was fine with it.
I guess, but it's like when I think about it, it's like, oh, that's so stupid.
It's funny because after when you won the Fallout, and I let you take it home, you're like, you know, I'm still kicking myself that I didn't let you take the free for all. I'm like, dude, you let me take pictures with it. That's the only thing that mattered with me, because at that time I was going to be a dad. It was coming down the chute that it was going to be any time after this event that I'm going to be a father, and now you guys are making me champ. I was cool with it.
And you know, we made you champ, but at the same time, it's like we wanted to make sure that none of us looked like weak. Yeah. Which is why Dan pedigreed you at the end, and I think we were setting up for you and him anyway. Yeah,
because you wanted me to go through all you guys one at a time.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, that way freaking at the end of it, if you guys don't want me, at least all of you have worked with me one-on-one, and I went through the initiation in my head.
Yeah, absolutely. And but yeah, let's kind of dig into the triple threat now.
Okay. What part do you want to start? Beginning, middle, end, promos?
Well, promos spoke for himself. I got myself in, which was pretty cool how we did it though, because the mask was on and basically a super kick Krim and signed my name on the paper, and then
no, you signed your name on the paper, and then Chris was like, This isn't you.
This isn't your writing, because he would know Thriller's writing.
Yeah.
So I biff him over the head with the clipboard and super kicked him, and then the camera work was I think Paul was on camera. He had to have been, because it was just this beautiful shot of this like Dragon Ball Z pan up.
Yeah.
And then I
reveal.
Make a reveal like, it was me, Austin.
Yeah.
It was me all along. But yeah, no, it was because I remember that's what Shawn Michaels had to do to get into the triple threat to fight Benoit. Because Austin's like, you're the Heartbreak Kid! Do something!
Yeah.
Shawn's like, okay. Screw you, Benoit! I'm gonna kill him! But, yeah, no, we did that, and then, like, we could start anywhere in the match, but we gotta talk about the concussion that happened.
Yeah.
Lead us into it, give us a little...
I can't remember exactly whereabouts it falls in the match, but it was very early on.
It was early middle-ish.
And, at that event, I had... my girlfriend at the time, which was X's ex. She was pregnant. She was off to the sideline. You can kind of see her in a couple of clips. Match probably was on for about 10-15 minutes by this time, and I was looking forward to fighting Chris, and I was like, okay, fine. Chris and Vic had their spot. Now it's my turn. Now it's time for me to step up. I gotta show that I can take Chris's stuff and try to make him look strong.
Yeah.
So...
Make Roman look strong.
So I was like, okay, fine. I'll start punching him. He won't sell it. And I remember I walk up with him, and I'm like, Chris, shove me. And he's like, how? You want me to push? I'm like, no. Push me away, like break this hold, and then shove me with your foot. I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. So he shoved me a little bit after he broke the hold, but I wasn't... At this time, I didn't have environmental awareness.
He didn't mind his surroundings,
yeah.
As Ra's al Ghul would say.
And he shoved me with the foot, and I had my chin tucked and everything. I landed, and the back of my head connected with the floor balancing beams that they had.
It just smoked.
There was no way around it. If I was like a couple inches to the other way or either side of it, I would have missed. But I still had my chin tucked. It's still connected. It made a loud bang. And I kind of like killed over a little bit, because all of a sudden I hear ringing, and then I look out of the corner of my eye, and Chris is like gonna grab me, and instantly I see you just going up behind him and grabbing him.
And you know what the funny thing is? I saw you smoking the head, but I was selling something that had happened to me. So you get your head smoked, and then I see him coming to her. I know something went down, because you can't. Something's got to give if it makes a sound like that.
Yeah.
So this fucking ogre is going for you, and I'm like, ah! And I just grabbed her. And I started hitting him or something. I remember saying, "Dude, he's hurt. You crazy?"
And because you guys started leading the camera and everything, I kind of like just looked up, and I saw the look on my girlfriend's face, and she was like worried. She wanted to rush over to me. I like started waving with my hand. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I just had to breathe. After that point, I do not remember the match.
There's one point in the match. The camera's just on you. You're just walking like in this circle, like trying to trying to wake yourself up, trying to like shake away the cobwebs.
Yeah, Dan was mentioning he's doing something.
Yeah, well, Dan was just hilarious,
pointing everything out.
And you know, it's funny because he did an Orton backbreaker to him, and I've never seen it sold so well in my life.
Yeah,
I don't know how he did it. He bounced off your back onto the mat, rolls like a billion times.
It's not only that he bounced off my back. This was the first time I ever did the Orton backbreaker, and I wanted to do it. So when I was like studying it in games and everything, I was watching how Orton did it, and I was using the spring complexity of the mat, so that when I went down on my knee, I went down on my bad knee for that one.
Yeah.
But I pushed off with my knee to sell the impact, and I was hoping that I wasn't gonna like strangle Dan across the throat, so I loosened at the last minute, which me bouncing, him bouncing, it just catapulted him.
It just made it look like, to this day, it might be the best sell any of us has ever done. just that. Oh, yeah, that was a highlight. Yeah, but overall, just because you were shaking cobwebs, there's only so much you can do with Crim, and then there's me kind of by myself getting a little pissy. So it's not one of my favorite matches. I'll say that much, but I respect it a lot because of what happened, and you know, and the fact you continued was just.
Yeah, because I remember, I think, I know Dan didn't check on me. I think it was Paul that checked on me. He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I need some air." That's the only thing I remember during that. I vaguely remember walking around, but what I do remember of that event is all of a sudden I'm like, I had the belt in my hand, and I looked at you. I'm like, "What happened?" I don't remember.
I remember you saying that.
Because I was like, I told you, I want that footage up as soon as possible because this is freaking me out.
It's to go through something and not remembering it. Remember how I said me being pissy? There's one thing that pissed me off to no end. And it's... He wasn't on camera or anything, but to break character in, you know, in such a way, it just pissed me off, and it was Chris. He looked at the time of how long we've been going, and he goes like this, "Holy crap, we've been going for an hour."
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't do that, man. Like,
No.
what if the camera comes your way?
Yeah.
Once the show's done, if we kind of break an illusion, I'm cool with that, but I just need to be in that, you know.
Yeah. No, I totally admit, because friggin' me, all the events, I remained in character. I was learning how to call spots, communicate with you, covering up the mouth.
I would say you and I learned how to call matches together, pretty much, working together.
Yeah, because our first match, it was a continuous shot, so we couldn't pause and discuss about something, so we were like, okay, how do these guys do it? Well, let's go into a headlock like this, and stuff like that. We were like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. Tie-ups and everything else, just...
And now it's to the point where we just know each other so well that, to our credit, I want to say you and I are as, if not better, than how Dan and I can just do things without talking. And you know, there's that one point where the ramification event, our match started. We were rallying up the audience that showed up. And we were both clapping, getting them into it, and then we charged each other. It's just bam, bam, bam. We didn't talk about that.
No.
We just beat the shit out of each other, and it worked. But we'll get to that.
Yeah,
we got lots of time.
Hour and a half in.
You know, it's like a movie.
Yeah, and we're only on the free-for-all segments. The free-for-all saga, pretty much, which you guys helped me got into, and we're coming almost to the twilight of it all.
Yeah. Do you want to make this video all about, like, stop it after we're finished the free-for-all kind of thing? And
sure.
Then we'll do another video.
Yeah, okay.
All in one day, don't worry.
Yeah, it's going to be posted, and it's going to be on this channel.
On this channel, which is DC Thriller. Yeah,
the Bombs for Breakfast.
Yeah. So consider this part 1. I know if you got to an hour and 35 minutes, you now know this is part 1.
Yeah. And this is what we just decided we never discussed.
So it's just like wrestling.
This is how we work. This is how we work.
Oh, there we go.
I was thirsty.
It's all good, man. But yeah, now that leads us to the triple threat between myself, Dan, and Paul, does it not?
Yes.
Because you're champion now.
I'm champion now.
You need your number 1.
I need a contender now for my title.
And yeah, for his title that I didn't let him take home. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
But I remember Dan did not show up until like 10 minutes before we started. I'm getting worried. I'm talking with Paul right there, and I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, he doesn't show up. We got to do this one-on-one. And Paul at the time wasn't comfortable going one-on-one.
No.
And he was just reassuring. He'll be here.
Yeah.
He'll be here. Don't worry. Deep inside,
for my sake, he will be here.
But Dan showed up, and he was just like, I just feel like crap. I just don't like. I guess he knew something had to give, because he ended up hurting his ribs in that match, and I'll take the full blame for that, because I super kicked him. I know I missed it, so I felt like, I hate that. And then he still let go of the sharpshooter he had Vaughn in. So to make up for it, I dropped an elbow, but all of this fell on his ribs, so it was like my weight just crashing on his.
There went all the air.
There went, and he bruised his ribs, and he had a flight to Australia like in 24 hours. Yeah. So he literally lived the WWE wrestler's life. You know, wrestle a match, get hurt, get on a plane,
get out of the country.
But he hurt his ribs. He was taken out, and we didn't know what to do because it wasn't an elimination triple threat. It was just a triple threat match because I pinned him and I thought he was going to kick out. And DJ counted 1, 2, 3, and then I was like, oh fuck, that means the match is over. But then DJ's like, out, eliminated. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, and I was like, wait a minute, what? I'm like sitting there, I'm like, this was triple threat. That means usually one fall. This is not three-way dance.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you guys are starting fighting more, and I'm looking at Dan, and he's not moving. I was like, okay, I can't break out of character because you would have been pissed at me. That's 2 events that you're pissed off with guys you work with. That's getting out of character.
Yeah.
I was like, no, okay, I'm champion. I'll just keep my eye on him.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like trying to make sure, okay, I'm watching.
Yeah, exactly. And Paul and I don't know, we muscled out as much as we could have for as untrained he was at the time. And
well, out of the regime that you've now gotten into, because this is from the last free-for-all, we had our match 3 months after that.
Yeah.
3 months after that, I became champion. A couple months after that, this was this match.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
You were starting to get into a routine. This is nothing, and Paul's probably sweating bullets. Like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
This is not free for all for him.
This is like all for all. But yeah, and I remember he made the executive decision. I gave him 4 amigos, and I was supposed to finish him with the super kick.
Yeah.
I gave him 4 amigos, and I went for like a weak pin just to make it look like I pinned him.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I go, did I do it? Did I win? And then DJ grabs my hand and here's your winner.
Yeah.
He did the best he could, and then he's like, and free for all champion. Just rubs it into this guy, but and then later on I go to Paul. I'm like, hey man, what happened? Why didn't you stop me? Are you okay? He's like, 4 amigos. I felt pretty good about that being the finish. It feels like a strong finish. I was like,
no,
son of a.
I remember hearing that conversation. I was like, there has to be a little bit more to that, Paul.
Yeah. But he didn't know.
No, he again, it was like when I saw that, I was like, okay, well now I can gauge myself on where I stand. Like I thought, now okay, fine, I'm close to you and Dan. I'm probably on par with Paul when it comes to wrestling, but martial arts, I'm shit out of water here.
Yeah.
But to me, I was like starting to feel good. You guys put the belt on me, which was awesome. I'm fighting you now. Again,
which is, which is cool because you beat us down. I think you just said something to Dan. I think you just mostly beat.
Yeah, I beat you down, and then I looked at Dan as I was walking away, and I was like, I was really hoping that you were gonna win.
Yeah.
So I was looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah, and I don't know if he was supposed to win. I don't remember.
I'm not too sure. Because I know the talks prior was that eventually I was going to fight Dan.
Yeah, and I think it made sense in terms of the story we were going for him to win because you went through me, you went through Krim, and then Dan would have been the next guy. And Dan got hurt during that match. We needed a new winner, so it wouldn't have made sense for Paul to do it at the time. So.
Well, I remember the talks was eventually Paul was going to have it at the free for all.
Yeah, that was 100%
where that belt was going to go. So I was like, okay, fine. Well, in my head going into that match, watching you guys, I'm like, okay, I didn't know who was actually going to win.
Yeah.
Because you weren't telling me anything. You're like, it's up in the air.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, fine. Well, I know Paul's going to be wanting the belt at free-for-all. So it's either going to be him, which in my mind I was like, oh, okay, fine. I'm going to lose the belt this match. So he goes into free-for-all with it.
Yeah.
And if it's Dan, then that's fine. I have a chance to retain, which would be cool. Because here's Dan, 2-time free-for-all champion, my first time title holding.
Yeah.
And I get to work with him, and I might, if I prove myself good enough, that I can retain.
Exactly.
But end of the match, okay, fine, I'm fighting you again, which I was cool with. I learned a lot our first match.
Mm-hmm.
I learned some more in the triple threat, as much as I can't remember that match. But I was like full of ideas. I'm like, okay, this is my title. We can't have another one-on-one match. We got to do something above and beyond. Something
that, they haven't even really done on TV or anything like that. And that brings to the ladder match, street fight
ladder match. Because I was like, I really wanted to use props against you, and I know you wanted to use props against me, so street fight made sense. And I was like, but it's got to be more. It's got to be more than just a street fight. And we were like, trying to think. I was like, well, let's make it a street fight ladder match.
Yeah.
Well, then how would you win the title? You just grab it? And I'm like, no, let's kind of combine like the ambulance match where you have to get your opponent across a certain distance. Why don't you be the one taking the title out the building?
Yeah. And that bit was your idea. And I think we went out and had one hardcore fucking match. But the problem with it is, at the very beginning,
It was my bad.
This fucking guy.
I wanted everything so over the top because this was going to be.
Well, that was Thriller though. You know, that this Thriller had to.
I had
extremist.
Yeah, I was pretty much geared as this high flyer, and no fear, no care of my own being.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like looking around and was like, okay, I'm going to be up on that railing. I'm going to hop off that railing onto the floor to show you that there's no height I cannot go.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, when I got up there, I was like, I had the butterflies. I was like, okay, not too sure about this.
And you were using Disturbed. Down
with the sickness. Yep. And I remember telling Paul, I'm like, Paul, just make sure you stay out of the way of this area because that's where I'm going to be landing. And I don't want to land on you.
Yeah. Because God knows, you know how pissed he got at the end of that.
Oh.
But we'll talk about that.
We're getting to that part.
We're getting there.
And I remembered as I'm sitting up there and I'm like looking at Paul, I'm like, fuck, I hope I don't land on top of him because this is going to be one short match.
Yeah.
Took a deep breath, stood up, did my pose, hopped down, and I nearly shattered my left ankle.
And I don't even know if I saw it. I just
No,
remember
you
I was
were-
pacing.
Yeah, you were
And
pacing around.
I just remember seeing you on your ass, basically.
Yeah, getting up.
Getting up. And I just went...
Yeah. And what I should have done was, if it was hard concrete, I should have either, one, moved the mats, or two, on my landing, rolled through it so that my whole foot wasn't taking the
impact.
The impact.
But, you know, it is what it is, and you had to wrestle about 34 minutes, something like that.
Something like that. And I remember when I was trying to walk it off, I looked at you, and your whole persona broke character, and you were a little concerned.
Yeah,
and I was like, I should be good as I was like passing by.
Like, I think I might have even asked you if you're good. You said yeah, and right then I was like, this fucking asshole's lying to me. Shit, he's alright. So, I did my best. Like, I want to say you can argue with it all you want because I wasn't, you know, the one wrestling myself.
No.
I did my best to protect you.
Yeah, you did.
I tried. I know I fucked up with the
3
scoops.
suplexes.
Well, but the scoop slam onto the ladder because I made sure your feet hit first, so your back was okay. But then I didn't click to me. Like, oh fuck, this guy just messed up his legs.
Actually, that was not too bad. I think the one thing about that ladder, the wooden ladder, is when you freaking slammed it right onto my groin, you ended up putting all your weight right on my groin instead of my chest, because that's where I was protected.
Right,
I was waiting for your body, and then all of a sudden your body was like there, and I was like, I felt my whole entire groin just go from this big to about that big.
Like,
I was like, you asshole, my foot hurts! Now my dick!
what more can you take from me?
I can't even walk up the ladder now!
And then I remember there's this one spot, I was scared as fuck that you were doing it. You kind of, the ladder was closed, you set it up right, and then you kind of climbed it, and then you dropped with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna fucking murder me. But I knew since I was winning, and it didn't work out because you hurt your leg. You couldn't even give me this.
I know.
I was like, I have to take more punishment than him. If I'm going to win, it has to be me barely like winning this war.
Yeah.
I have to. You know, that's why I had Paul, like, try to assassinate me. That's why I had everybody try to, like, gang up on me just so it's more of this, like, oh my god, what a win, right?
Yeah, I know.
But then he hurts his leg.
On top of that, it was pure wrong time planning on the assassination in aspect, because I was already trying to go for that belt up the ladder, and I couldn't reach because I couldn't get my sore foot up one more rung to withstand the energy.
That was the plan, though. You were supposed to get it down, and I was supposed to walk out with it, but I ended up having to do both.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Well, they ended up lowering it after I was trying to wake you
yeah,
up, and
yeah.
I looked. I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You guys lower it behind my back now after you guys see me struggle getting up the fucking ladder?"
Yeah.
But no, I was like turning to you. I was getting so frustrated. I'm like, "There's no way I can grab that belt.
Yeah.
You have to do it."
Yeah. And I remember I just took the rock bottom on the
Trash
can, and I'm playing dead.
Selling the hit.
I'm selling the hit. If you guys watch the match back, I wasn't knocked out. I was just selling until he started. Well, he started hitting me with everything to wake me up. I wasn't budging until he started hitting me with something else. I'm like, I don't think I can take too much more of this.
Yeah, I was thinking, okay, you're gonna play dead. I'm gonna keep hitting you until you get pissed off, because now you're mad.
Yeah, and then I'm like, even then, I slowly got up, and I think I had like the belt in hand. And you had like the hubcap.
Yeah, we were like dual.
and then you smoked me in the head with the hubcap, and I smoked you in the head with like with the
trash can lid. I think it was a trash.
Yeah,
can
it was a trash can lid. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and then you went after the belt, and then we tried to get closer and closer to the end.
Yeah, and then that's where Laffy McLaffernuts Crim showed up.
Yeah.
And to be fair, his part was pretty cool.
It was. He did a decent enough job for it.
Yeah.
He did what was asked of him.
Yep. And the best part was when I walked out, you could see Paul write it in, and he slapped the wall like fuck.
Yeah.
But do you want to get into the whole Paul and you thing that kind of
there was a miscommunication on. I'll take the brunt of it because it involves me anyway.
But here's the thing: I'll take heat for it too because I told him that no one's going to do anything to you. Your job is just to attack me, and I didn't tell you this. I'll completely.
The part in the match that this is referencing to is when Paul interferes and starts attacking Vic, and I remember I was like laid up. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And everybody's like kind of looking at me, and then I was like, you know what? If this guy's interfering in my match, I take that as a threat to my title.
Yeah.
So I got up, I hobble over, I start doing something with Paul, and Paul doesn't even tell me anything. He goes for an RKO. And when he dropped down on my sore foot.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even do the fall properly. And I messed up the fall and everything, and he's like getting pissed off at me, and at the end of the event and everything, I was feeling sore with my entrance. That was ongoing throughout the match because I was kicking myself during the whole entire match.
Right.
And then I get this message from Paul that I was told that he wasn't supposed to be touched, and I turned around and was like, dude, I'm sorry, no one told me. If I knew, I wouldn't. And I started explaining myself, and then all of a sudden Paul messages me, he's like, yeah, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah, and I remember he messaged me that night and said, we don't need to work with him anymore. And I think that is kind of the finale of the free-for-all.
For me, that point there, that was a very bad time because I was just about to go back to work, and it was the Sunday night after it all. It was a week to the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like ready getting back to work and facing the music at work, hearing everybody being like, oh, you broke your leg during a wrestling match. Good job!
Yeah.
Asshole. And then I get this message that I'm kicked out for a miscommunication, and I was like, in all honesty, if I knew I wasn't going to be worked with anymore, I wouldn't have shown up.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you this because if that's all you guys were going to do, all you had to do was be upfront with me.
Yeah.
And I told you, I'm like, I'm sorry, but I see it as a dick move. That's no ill will to you guys as a group. I just see it as a bad thing. and to tell me this while I'm like laid up and I missed a whole week of work, I'm pissed off. Because I sacrificed a lot doing that match. I continued that match. I could have said, no, dude, I injured myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You can cut a promo. Here, have your belt.
Have your belt.
I'm going home. I could have gone that route, but how I am and how much I feel for wrestling.
Right.
I couldn't let myself do that because I would have kicked myself even more.
Yeah.
Not finishing, not even doing the match.
Exactly. And to everyone's, like, you know, not to everyone's credit, but it was never a plan to go in and be like, okay, we're going to do this and throw them out. It was that miscommunication that really pissed
everybody off.
It was more that Paul was pissed off and Dan really still didn't care for you. And
wasn't feeling for
and
me.
For me, I was starting to warm up to you again, but you know, Paul and Dan, I kind of work for them in a sense, you know, like
2 votes against 1. You're outvoted
so,
here.
And I do remember messaging you that and kind of giving my whatever sense I could make of what happened, and I just remember Paul not taking. Like to give him another chance as an option, and he was livid, and he doesn't get mad.
No,
he doesn't get mad, and you know, you guys have talked it over. We stream together now, so it goes to show. And you know, even during, you really won them over with your, not even the wrestling you've done. It's the stuff you've done before it, trying to get everything together. And I remember Paul saying, fuck, this guy works hard to get these events, you know, make something out of these events. And then Dan just says, this guy checks up on us, you know, like, you know, he really genuinely gives a shit about our well-being. I mean, you gave us Tim Hortons gift cards and stuff like that, right? Like, and if things turned out a little differently that day, had we all communicated better, especially, like, I'll take most of the heat for that because I should have said something. But I really honestly believe we would have made making these kind of videos much sooner than 2016. Than almost 10 years later. That match took place, 6 years later. That match took place in 2010.
Yeah, because of my daughter.
But that was the end of the whole free-for-all saga. We were going to do free-for-all 5.
Yeah, because I remember I was riding with you guys at the end of the title match. And you guys were explaining the free-for-all 5. And I remember, I'm sore, but I was looking forward to free-for-all. I was like, you know what? I'll heal from this. And free-for-all 5, expect shit coming out from me, because I was gearing up for it, and then just all of a sudden I'm kicked to the curb. I was like...
kicked to the curb, and I wanted so badly to invite you for it, but Paul's like, I'm not doing it if he's there, and I got it. I understood it.
No, even I understood it.
And it was supposed to be the one where he wins.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, you can't... I can't take that moment away from him.
No.
But here's what happened. We were going to bring an X.
Yeah. I remember after you telling me.
He was going to be the referee. And he's like, you're sure, Corey? Like, man, you are a marked man.
No, at that time, I was like doing everything wrong as possible to get people to hate me. I wasn't even trying.
No, you weren't.
This was before Buttman. This is
and here I am playing, like, you know, guys,
Devil's advocate,
he's not such a bad dude. Like, let's give him a chance. So fuck your chance. But
I think you told me, it was like, wow, friggin' you got everybody hating you.
DJ was gonna be a part of it. I wasn't hearing back from him, so I was getting a little worried. X said he couldn't make it. He said, I'm so sorry, something came up, this and that. Got me a little pissed at him, but I was like, okay, that's fine.
In all honesty, I think he he probably was more pissed at you because, guaranteed, he was seeing what I was doing with you and everything. I was end up doing what he wanted to do with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think at one point in time, I ended up messaging him. If this is because of what I was doing with him, it's because I was bugging you constantly.
Yeah.
Messaging you,
And-
okay, whoa.
And now when I look back at it, there's just no way I could have done what we did with him. There's no way. And that's not a knock at him at all. It's just with our history, with our, our similar drive, our similar passion, to the way we can both be technical, we can both be like in your face, just nitty gritty, just brawl. We can be high flyers, risk takers.
We can be jokes. We can.
We can. We're like, when you go on Super Smash Brothers and select Mario and how he's an all-around character. We're the all-around, wrestlers. And because we can go, if we got to do a technical match, we can do a technical match. If we got to do a high-flying match, we can do that. We can,
Just to try and sell an aspect of the story that we're trying to sell to you guys.
Yeah. With that being said, we have hit the 2-hour mark. We've explained the entire free-for-all saga and our beginnings and the
ups and downs
and
everything.
the traumas and
finding out that I had more heat with other people instead of you.
Yeah, and finding out that an hour 30 minutes into this video that this is just part 1.
Yes!
So let's get on to part 2 then.
Yeah.
How do you
Obviously, part 2 won't be up right away, so keep an eye out for it.
Yeah. And this is our 100th video on this channel.
Yes.
How did we not mention that?
Yeah, this is another big occasion for this channel, for Bombs for Breakfast, because I'm happy to have you a part of it.
For sure, I'm absolutely happy to, to be a part of all of it, which we'll definitely talk about in the next
which
video.
will be now the start of Bombs for Breakfast. So stay tuned for part 2. Should be around anytime. Thanks for sticking with us for 2 hours. If you did, if you didn't, thanks for letting.
Thanks for skipping through.
Yeah, skipping through, letting it play, giving us a view, give us a thumbs up.
Subscribe, and because we've got an event coming up March 26th, and hopefully we can get you guys watching and get more of the ball rolling as the years go on. So, and with that being said, I do got a topic I want to talk about in the next video.
Ooh. Now you gotta watch.
Now you have to watch because it's a little bit of a rant. All right, guys. We're good.
We're good.
We're good. All right.
Off to part 2.
Whoa!